something which it's already received from the hand of nature.
And Jonathan Meads peers into the eccentricities of the British landscape.
Cheap buildings are famously impermanent, and often the land that they stand on turns out to be worth more than the buildings themselves.
There's a new series of 40 Minutes. What happens if you can't get to the gym?
I became quite ill with the virus, and I was so frustrated because I couldn't get this high.
Exercise for the mind and the body coming soon.
We venture into the wild world in just under 5 minutes to see the beautiful, exotic and unique birds of Australia. Now on BBC Two, the news with Chris Lowe.
The news at 3 o'clock. Iran's hardline spiritual leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has made a bitter attack on the United States military build-up in the Gulf region. He said any fight against American forces would be a holy war. There are also signs that Iran might break the UN sanctions imposed on Iraq. Fergus Walsh reports.
Tehran radio quoted the spiritual leader Ayatollah Khamenei as saying anyone killed in the struggle against American aggression in the Gulf would be a martyr. It's the first outright attack on the Western military build-up by Iran since Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. Relations between Iran and Iraq following their bitter 8-year war have only recently begun to improve. Diplomatic ties were restored less than 2 weeks ago after the release of tens of thousands of prisoners of war and the division of the crucial Shatt al-Arab waterway. In Baghdad today, another of the regular government-orchestrated protests against United Nations sanctions. Kurdish farmers demonstrating outside the British embassy. The fear at the United Nations will be that a deal between Baghdad and Tehran could result in the exchange of food for oil and the successful circumvention of UN sanctions.
In Moscow, the two Germanys and the 4 wartime allies have signed a treaty setting out the terms for final unification next month. West Germany's foreign minister described the signing as an historic day for Europe. The treaty restores sovereignty to a united Germany and sets a timetable for the withdrawal of Soviet troops from German soil. In South Africa, at least 25 people have died in continued fighting between rival black groups in the townships around Johannesburg. Yesterday, Nelson Mandela said the failure of the government to quell the violence was threatening constitutional talks.
During the night, some of the worst destruction after weeks of fighting. This squatter camp at Takoza overrun by men armed with AK-47 assault rifles. At least 14 bodies have been found so far. The survivors, supporters of the ANC, blame Chief Buthelezis in Carter for the attack and say police did nothing to stop it. Now these people are demanding weapons from Nelson Mandela. Yesterday, Mr. Mandela warned President de Klerk this is pressure he may not be able to resist.
British and French farmers say more money from Brussels will help defuse the so-called lamb war. The president of the National Farmers Union, Simon Gourlay, met his French opposite number in Paris today. They also called for an end to cheap East European imports. The Director of Social Services in Manchester says another 13 children in the city have been taken into care in connection with allegations of ritual abuse. It's understood there's no connection with a similar investigation in Rochdale. That's it. More news at 10 to 4.
Well, it's a fine day here. You wouldn't think it looking at the satellite picture, which shows a lot of cloud over northern and eastern parts of Britain. But the cloud is thin. You can see holes in it, although the best of the sunshine is over Wales, the West Country, and southern parts of Ireland and northwestern parts of England. Indeed, there's a little bit of rain up in the northern Isles of Scotland at the moment. The rest of us, bone dry, pleasantly warm in the south, in the southwest 21 Celsius, for most of us 20 Celsius, in the north around 16 Celsius, 61 degrees Fahrenheit, but winds are light everywhere. That does mean patches of fog tonight, especially in southern and southwestern districts. Fairly mild in the south, 7 to 10 Celsius, in the northern glens though down to 2 Celsius, 36 Fahrenheit. That does mean a touch of ground frost. Tomorrow, very much the same, mainly dry, sunshine at times.
It's no bed of roses, but Geoffrey Smith and Daphne Ledwood are about to do their best to put things right on BBC One now, where your problem is their concern, in Gardener's Direct Line. And from one jungle to another wild world here on 2, as we train our cameras on the untamed nature of Australia.
You have to go a long way from Europe to find a forest like this.